Last night, the Milwaukee Bucks lost a tough game to the Denver Nuggets, 102 to 100. It was in Milwaukee. I had to be honest, I didn't watch most of this game. It seemed like a snooze fest from the start because Denver had full control of the game. You kind of knew Denver was going to win, and then at one point in time they were up by like 23 points. It wasn't really an interesting game, and when you look at Denver, they didn't have not only Jokic not playing, they didn't have even Jamal Murray. It was just Aaron Gordon and a bunch of their role players, and they still managed to win the game. So if you're a Nuggets fan, you're thrilled with the Nuggets pulling off all these wins without Jokic, and they're only like a game away from being in a second place in the West. So the Nuggets are a team to be feared going into the playoffs if they're at full strength. But going back to Milwaukee, Giannis ends up getting hurt in this game with like 24 seconds left, I believe. I'm not sure. I think it was around 24 seconds left. He leaves the game limping, and it's apparent that it's probably a serious injury from what we've been told. It's a right calf injury, and they expect him to be out for like 4 to 6 weeks. So this really hurts the Bucks. I'm just going to read a few quotes from this game, then I'll comment on this. So here's what Giannis had to say. I was feeling it the majority of the game, but did not want to stop playing. But at the end, I could not move. I had to stop. For me to stop playing and not be able to move, it was extremely painful. So that's what he said. Here's what Doc Rivers had to say. I didn't like what my eyes were seeing personally. Giannis was defiant about staying in on that one play. You could see him trying to run down the floor. I had enough. I didn't ask. I just took him out. He actually wanted to go back in. That was a no for me. I don't think it looks great personally. This calf keeps coming up and it's concerning. I'm not a doctor, but I'm smart enough to know that his calf keeps bothering him and there's something that is there and it keeps happening, and that's troublesome for all of us. Here's what Giannis had to say. Probably the next steps will be go to MRI tomorrow. After MRI, they will tell me probably I popped something in my calf or my soleus, something. They'll probably give me protocol of 4 to 6 weeks. That'll be out. This is from my experience being around in the NBA. After that, I'm going to work my butt off to come back. That will probably be the end of February, beginning of March. Hopefully, the team will be in a place that we can at least make the play in or the playoffs. Just take it day by day, try to get better. So this is some disturbing stuff from what I read in these quotes. One thing I'll say about Giannis, like, you got to give him credit for being a warrior in the sense that this guy always plays hard and he's willing to go through it even with injuries and playing through pain. I give him respect for that. I'll never question his heart or his desire to compete. He's shown that time in and time out. And then you just hear what Doc Rivers was saying about the calf injuries. But I think all this results from the Bucks having to overplay him because they need him to go in God mode just to get a win these days. That's how bad the Bucks are. I think you could make the argument without Giannis, the Bucks could possibly be the worst team in the league. They are just that bad. They're just that putrid that it's gotten to that point where he has to he has to go into God mode to get the wins. And this situation is starting to remind me of the Kevin Garnett situation in Minnesota during his last few years in Minnesota. I remember after 2004, Garnett could no longer lead the Timberwolves to the playoffs. He went through 3 straight years of futility, of not being able to get his team into the playoffs, consistent lottery appearances. He just couldn't do it. But then he also had loyalty to Minnesota. He didn't want to leave. But eventually he agreed to get traded because he saw that this team was just not going to go anywhere with him giving it his all, and it just wasn't going to work, that he had only some time remaining of his prime and he just felt it was just better for him to leave at that point in time. He had to be convinced. I think Giannis is probably in a similar boat in the sense that I don't see this Bucks team getting better anytime soon. I just don't see it. Maybe they could swing some miracle trade and get a game changing player. It's a possibility. I'll never rule it out, but I think the odds are very unlikely that it's just going to get worse for them as time progresses. Like next year, I don't see it getting that much better unless they get some kind of great lottery pick that they get like a top three pick out of nowhere, and maybe then they can just change the situation over there and possibly just keep Giannis long term. But I think it's going to be very hard to do that. Also, I just look at this current situation with him now being out for 4 to 6 weeks. That means it's going to overlap the trade deadline. No team is going to trade for him now with this injury. Granted, it's not serious, but you're not going to trade the far for Giannis right now, knowing that he's going to be out for a while. Granted, I could be wrong. There could be some team that's still willing to trade all their chips for him, even if they had to wait a few weeks for him to come back. But I think it's highly unlikely now. I would say with his injury, that as a Spurs fan, that was one of the big reasons why I didn't want to trade for him, because he's very injury prone. And I think it comes back to his usage, that he's been overplayed and he has to use a lot of energy on both ends of the court, that now it adds up and he gets hurt all the time because he's just overextending himself, and there's not much you can do about that. And that only gets worse once you get older. Now that he's in his 30s, I expect more and more of these nagging injuries to come out of nowhere. That's going to be a constant with Giannis, and any team that has him will have to deal with these types of injuries. I think now when I look at the Bucks situation, at least for this season, their season's over. I do not see them making the playoffs. I look at the standings in the Eastern Conference. They're ranked at number 11th, and their record is 18-26. They're a few games behind the Atlanta Hawks, who are number 10th. And the Hawks are really trying hard to win these games because their lottery pick is not protected. It would go to the Spurs if they miss the playoffs. So they definitely do not want to give up the lottery pick to the Spurs. Granted, they still will give up their pick due to the DeJounte Murray trade from a few years ago, but it's always more embarrassing when you give up a lottery pick. So there's incentive for the Hawks to try to get into the playoffs. And that's why I don't see them really dropping enough games for Milwaukee to catch them. And you look at the Bulls, who are in ninth, they're playing 500 basketball at 22-22. So yeah, I think this is a death knell for Milwaukee's season. I don't see them coming to the playoffs. It's pretty much over for this year. Shut it down. If you're the Bucks, I guess you're hoping for a miracle lottery pick. Top three pick could definitely change the destiny of the franchise. And even this current situation with Giannis, I think if they get a top three pick, then maybe it changes Giannis's attitude towards the future. But we'll see. For now, the Milwaukee Bucks are finished. I can say that for sure.